Okay, so I got done reading John Della Rosa's The Stars Entwined last night, and here is my review. But first of all, who am I? My name is Cody Sandow. I am the author that you know. I am the author of 6 novels, 2 nonfiction works. The 6th novel is coming out April 18th, and we're working on that now. So before we get on, I just want to remind you, if I sound funny and I'm hard to listen to, it's because I have tongue cancer, and I'm going through treatment now. I'm gonna live, but it's a little rough, and I have a tumor in my tongue, and then I also have like my mouth is like a World War I battlefield because of all the radiation that's done. But I insist on torturing you with my poorly uh, pronounced, but my terrible voice that I have right now. But also, I kind of wanted to keep up my weekly live streaming. And one of the things I do is I read other people's books and do reviews. And I feel like being an author, it's good to read not only other people in your genre, but people outside your genre. And this is certainly outside. I write military historical fiction, and this is a science fiction, science military fiction, perhaps space opera. Uh, I really enjoyed the book. So John Delarose, real quick about him and how I came to read this book is that John is uh, I would call him, and please forgive me, John, if you ever see this, but John Delarose or JDA is somewhat of a YouTube provocateur. A I would call him a social commentator. He's very opinionated, both politically and I guess religiously too. And I will say that even though I don't share most of his views, I do find a lot of his views interesting, especially when it comes to culture war stuff. But he's an interesting guy. He's got a great voice to listen to. He makes good points, but he also, I don't agree with everything he says. But it's also kind of funny because not only is he a very provocative with people of the other side of the political aisle from where he is, but he also fights a lot with people who are on the same side. And I don't know why it is because he seems like a very nice guy, but I do know that he has a hard time getting along with other people. And maybe it's everybody else's fault. Who knows? But I enjoy John's channel, so check him out if you're into YouTube and you're into social or what's the culture war stuff. But anyway, the one thing about John is almost every time he does a video and he talks about the latest Disney debacle or how the comic DC Comics or Marvel Comics is ruining everything, or the people who are doing Star Trek are ruining everything. He always follows up with, "Hey, but if you like that stuff, try my books." And John does. I don't know where he gets the time. He's a prolific writer. He writes fantasy novels. He writes science fiction novels, steampunk novels. He writes multiple comic books that he does. I think his novels are mostly on Amazon, just like me. He's an independent like me, but a lot more successful. He also writes comic books. I think that he crowdsources, and what he does a lot. I noticed is first of all, you can tell he's a fan. Like he has a deep depth of knowledge of all these different fan bases, like Star Trek and all sorts of things. He reads. He's a fan of the classic age of science fiction. He's well read in it, knows all the classic writers. So he comes from a very knowledgeable base. Oh, excuse me, if you're just joining right now, I have tongue cancer, and so it causes me to have a lot of extra phlegm and saliva. I'm trying not to be disgusting here. Um, and so when he writes and creates comic books or novels, he's trying to bring back that old feel of the older stuff, of the older age of that. And I had listened to him for a while, mostly just out of entertainment because I love the drama. He fights with other people I listen to, and I think that's how I got to know him. And then ended up just really enjoying his voice and the things he has to say about stuff. But I, he he had one of his books on special for 99 cents. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and read one of his books because I've heard this guy constantly say how, hey, if you don't like how they're ruining all this stuff now, read my stuff. And said, okay, John, I'm going to read it. And so I got the Stars Entwined, which is the first book of the Eurasian War trilogy. And guess what? I really liked it. And I'll tell you this. Even though I write historical military fiction and I don't have any plans of writing science fiction or space opera, I enjoy it. I always have. When I was a child, I was 6 years old when Star Wars came out. Saw it in the theater multiple times. Saw all the Star Wars movies until like I quit Star Wars with The Last Jedi. But more than Star Wars, I was a big fan of Flash Gordon of 1980, The Black Hole, which is a Disney movie, a wonderful movie, Battlestar Galactica, and what was the other one? Buck Rogers. Yeah. So when I was a kid in the late 70s and early 80s, when I went outside to play, I didn't play sports because I was no good at it, but I used to pretend like I was a star pilot, and I would have adventures in the jungle gym at the playground was like some kind of obstacle course I had to go through. And I really lived in this fantasy world in which I was some kind of space adventurer. I was really into space back then. Still am. I still am a amateur astronomer, mostly local astronomy. Like I like looking where the planets are and the moon phases and the things that I can comprehend. So the thing about John's books is it harkens back to that same kind of feel that Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica and Flash Gordon gave me. So enough of me talking. Let's get to my review. And here we go. All right. Now I got to pull it up for myself. All right. Book review of The Stars Entwined by John Delarose. Authentic science fiction, a fun space fantasy, and a damn good love story. Now, I hope I posted this on Amazon as well, and Amazon asked for a title, so that was my title for the Amazon version of this. I hope that goes through because I don't know if the word damn is considered a swear word still, and I don't know if that's against community services. So, John, if you're watching and it doesn't go up right away, it's because of that, and I'll take the word damn out and finish it. Probably, okay, I'll leave it at that. I enjoyed this far more than I expected. I grew up a Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, and Battlestar Galactica. I grew up on Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, and Battlestar Galactica. I spent hours acting out my own space adventures in my backyard. I didn't realize how much I missed that feeling until I read The Stars Entwined. By the way, the title does have meaning as you read the book, so pay attention. Humans and the Eurasians are on the brink of war. A lowly internal affairs officer may be the only hope for humanity. The training, cosmetic surgery, and nanotechnology microviruses are reprogramming his brain. Lieutenant Sean Burrows is transformed into I've never tried this name out loud, Veyron, and is installed as a spy on an Eurasian battleship. But the one thing he was not prepared for was falling in love with the enemy commander. John Delarose does a great job of intertwining classic sci-fi tropes with grounded technology and imaginative fantasy elements. The fight scenes are riveting, especially the ones in open space during a spacewalk. I like that he gave the perspective to both sides of the conflict. It's an interesting contrast between the Eurasian collectivism and human individualism. The Stars Entwined is the promising start to the Eurasian War trilogy. The end will make you certainly want to pick up the next book. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take my plasma pistol and play Stars Entwined in my backyard. Okay, so that's my review. I could have said a whole lot more. The one thing that really surprised me is, John is, I'll just say it, he's an anti-wokester. And even though I consider myself, I shouldn't admit this out loud, even though I consider myself a centrist liberal, I'm still not into the woke stuff either. And a lot of this new stuff with like the girl bosses and overt feminist messaging and everything. They ruined Star Wars with it. He wrote some uh, very convincing female characters that are leaders. Like I can't remember her name, but the commander of the Raging ship is a woman, and so John does a pretty good job of doing that and making her convincing and making her a leader, not only of her own people, but as the adventure pulls out, you'll see. And she's one of the main characters. And I thought it was interesting that so you have the humans and the Eurasians, and John didn't make the Eurasians like mustache twisting villains. He made them understandable and even likable, and I like that because I do the same thing with my historical novels, in which I'm not writing necessarily bad guys and good guys. I always say heroes and villains on both sides. The one thing I will say though, and this is not overt, there's really no overt political messaging in his work at all. It's all in his YouTube channel, but not in his work. The Eurasians tend to be collectivists. They have this thing called the bond sense, in which they share each other's emotions. It's so strong that they have to have thick steel walls in their ships because they don't want like an emotion to oversweep the whole crew of a ship. So they keep them they make it so they're not plugged into the bond sense. And I think that bond sense, which does have its advantages in the book, but it's also what the people like in political discourse of our world called hive mind, where like emotions or a way of thinking can kind of spread across a certain kind of people. But it does make it very interesting. Oh, that's an alarm. Of how like the Eurasians are different from the humans. They're also physically they're humanoid, but I think they have like silver skin and they have horns. But other than that, they're human. But the other thing I thought was really interesting is that I enjoyed quite a bit, and which I think that a lot of modern storytelling is missing. There was an actual romantic aspect to it. There was a love story in it that was quite central to the plot, and I thought that was interesting and well done, and it kept me intrigued and it kept me in the book. And I gotta say, I read a lot of books. I don't enjoy all of them as much as how am I trying to say this? I don't I don't enjoy them as much as maybe I put on sometimes, because I never want to talk bad about another author. I'm for independent authors. I'm in for all authors, no matter what. But I really enjoyed this book, and I also, I always feel like it takes about the first 100 pages to get you into it, and then the last 100 pages is like a water slide where you're like maybe sometimes I'm forcing myself to read, but like those last 100 pages, like I can't put the book down. Um, I will say in the conclusion, the big climax of this, I was I wanted to read. I was picking it up outside of like my forced reading sessions and like wanting to read more and drawn into the book, drawn into the story. So good job, John. I really enjoyed that. Um the next book is, I like the title. So The Stars Entwined, that it has meaning. And the next book is called The Stars uh Asunder. And the third one, oh, man, I should have been better prepared. I'll see if I can pull it up real quick. Um, um, the second title sounds like it makes sense too, because just the way that the first book ends, and no spoilers. I will say though, the first book ends. It's a full story. It's a full story into itself, but the first book ends is a very open ending. So that will make you want to read more. And just like me, he puts a let's see, I'll click on that. he puts a preview of the next book so that you want to read more. And the next book sounds like it picks up right where the first book. Uh, oh, the third book is called The Stars Rejoined, and so I can see where he's going with those titles: the stars entwined, the stars asunder, the stars rejoined. I think I can make out plot and themed wise what those probably mean. So yeah, it's a great book. I highly recommend it. I really did enjoy it quite a bit, and we'll see if I get around to reading the other ones. I have such a back list of books that I need to read. A lot of times I'm only able to read the first of a series, which is kind of sad because I know that series a lot of times you get better as you go. So we'll see. I have another John Delarose book actually in my queue. It's called For Steam and Country. It's a steampunk novel, and I got that for 99 cents too. And I think I have a third novel of his when I joined his email list. I think he got like a novel, and you got three things: at least one novel, and at least one like graphic novel, like a comic book novel, and then the third one was one or the other. So so we'll see. We'll see how much. We'll see if I get into it. The next book I'm going to read, actually, the book I'm reading right now is Daniel Green's The Northern Wolf. Very interesting. Daniel and I are both from Michigan, and we both wrote books about Michigan cavalry during the American Civil War. And I had seen John's books out there for a while and thought it was interesting that someone else was writing about Michigan cavalry. And then at some point, Daniel reached out to me. And at first I didn't know who he was, but he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I might as well introduce myself because we both have similar stuff." And then I realized that, oh my God, this is the guy. This is the guy who wrote those books. He wrote a whole series of, I think there's 5 of them. And then now he's writing under a pen name. He's writing fantasy. And it's kind of sad because there's another guy named Daniel B. Green who got into some trouble, who's also well known in fantasy, where the council mob has kind of come after him, although I think that has kind of leveled out and he's okay. But still, my Daniel, who is also a very successful writer, has opted to use a pen name, and I can't remember what it is, but he's writing like Norse Viking. I don't know if he's doing straight Viking stuff or if he's doing fantasy stuff with Vikings, but he's doing that under a pen name. But anyway, I got his book, the Northern Wolf, and I've been telling him I was going to read it for a while now. So that's the next one. I just started that one. That's it. It's so interesting because it's different from mine for sure. Like the character is where my character Carl is kind of a victim of circumstance, kind of a sloucher. His character is like kind of a roughneck guy who likes to, he's got a crippled leg, and so he takes it out self-pity by going to the bars and drinking and getting into fist fights. But in a way, and his book starts in Grand Rapids where mine's in Detroit, but there's similarities in which, even though characters are very different from each other, my character gets involved in a duel that gets him in trouble because duel is illegal. That gets him in trouble and forces him to join a cavalry unit. Daniel's character gets into a bar brawl and gets arrested and he doesn't get forced, but because he's not, they really don't want to enlist him because of there's some kind of injury that he got as a child in his dad's shop where he has to wear a leg brace, but he uses the chance to join the cavalry to get out of jail. But not just that, but to make something of himself because he feels like, a crippled guy in the mid 19th century doesn't have as many options as, somebody today. So I am just past the part where he gets into the 7th Michigan Cavalry, which is actually a fictional regiment that Daniel created for the book. Which was good because then he can have him do whatever he wants to do. Like me, I was forced to have the 2nd Michigan. My books were forced to follow the 2nd Michigan historically and not deviate from the history. Daniel has the freedom to do other things with his fictional regiment. So I'm past the point where he gets out of jail and is allowed to join the regiment, and it's just like the beginning of meeting his. They're standing out in the rain. Their company commander is introducing himself to him. I'm like 9% into it. So I'm reading that. And then I'm going to read Lloyd Elmer Jr.'s Malcolm's Bridge. Very interesting book. It's about a young boy, I guess, a kid who finds a portal in his, I think this is what it's about, in his closet to another world. So another fantasy book there. We'll be doing that next, probably in April. I'm getting faster with my novel reading, so hopefully I'll get to that in April, and then we'll do a review on that. So that's what's coming on the review front. Okay, so we did that. Let's move on to so last weekend. I've had 2 weekends in a row where I did signings. So I did 2 weeks ago. I was in South Haven with my mom at the Mid-South Military History and Civil War Show. So last weekend, I was at the White House. Let's see, is this the right one? No, that's not what I want. So let's. So I was at the White House Museum in White House, Tennessee, and yeah, just so there's no confusion. It has nothing to do with the White House in Washington D.C. This is White House is a small town just is north of Nashville, and the White House Inn, I think, was a famous hotel that was there throughout history. The one that's there today is a replica of the original. Okay, hang on, share screen, and the way I got to know them, the White House Inn people, is that they. So I played a fiddle, and my fiddle partner, So we're now. I used to have a band. Now it's a duo, which I really like because it's just. I feel it's more authentic when it's just fiddle and banjo. It's a very haunting sound, and it's a more authentic sound to me. But the other thing is, it's easier to manage just 2 people than, at one point the band was 5 people. We had 2 fiddles, a banjo, a bass, and a guitar. And so, trying to book a gig and trying to get all 5 people able to do it and not hurting people's feelings because, like, maybe one guy can't do it, but we can still do it without him. When it's just the 2 of us, we can do just about anything. Paul's a great partner. He's a lot of the gigs we get come from Paul because Paul's so well known in Sumner and Robertson County. So anyway, the White House Inn had a program where they were going to schools and doing what was called Pioneer Days, where they brought like artifacts, and then they were telling kids about what it was like during the Pioneer Days. And then Paul and I went and played, and we played 19th century music, and we wore our 19th century gear and all that. And so Susan, who runs the museum, invited me to come to this. It's called Military Munitions Day, and what the event was like they had several collectors that had weapons from the Vietnam War, World War II, all the way down to the early frontier days of the 18th century and all that in Tennessee. And she invited me to come, and she gave me a table and encouraged me to play my fiddle and sell books, and I did. And it turned out to be a very good day to me. And so I do these little after action reports after I do a signing. So here we go. After action report, Military Munitions Day at the White House Museum, the White House Inn Museum. It was a great day of signing books and meeting new and old friends in real life. And there's me. Oh, and I wore my uniform. I asked her too. I said, "Is it appropriate? Is it okay?" Because it was military, a military show. I, I thought it would be interesting to be in uniform, so I wore my union uniform here. And but I wanted to make sure it was okay because this is the South, and some people are not happy. You can see the rebel flag there. Are not very happy about. But she says, "Yeah, that's fine." So I ended up. Well, here we go. There's one of the. I sold this woman a copy of Rampage on the River. Uh, the White House. Jumping around. The White House and goodness. The White House and Museum invited me to sign books at their military munitions event last Saturday. I was there at 7:30 in the morning to set up my table, and here's what it looked like. And you can see that's the Prussian flag there. And I don't know if you can make it out, but that's my pickle hub. That's the spiked helmet. And then you're going to see my 3 Civil War books here, and then Mexico My Love, the Prussian Prince, and down here is a Coming Soon, the French Fiasco. And then here's a sign up for my email list. By the way, down below in the description is a link to sign up for my email list. I will let you know when stuff is on special for Kindle and when new stuff is coming out. And I also do after action reports there too, if you're interested. So sign up for that. Eventually, I'm going to give everybody on it a free book or free novella. We opened up at 9 a.m. My first customer was none other than Nick Pride, a Facebook friend for years who had come out to see me at the event. He bought the whole 5-book series. Thanks, Nick. And there's Nick and I. And I'm holding the bus, but you can see there's all 5 of them there. We had a steady stream all day. I sold 14 books in all and got 3 new signups for my email list. So if you're one of them, thank you. And here's the other pictures. So this man bought just the trilogy, the Civil War trilogy. This woman bought Mexico My Love, which I thought was Mexico My Love. My books are for everybody. I felt like Mexico My Love. The main character is a woman, and it's a love story, and anybody can enjoy it. But it was me trying to, the right one that women would like. But it's a prequel to the Civil War trilogy. And still has battles and adventure and all that. And Diego is the other main character, and he's a badass with a sword. This man bought Blood for Blood at Nashville. That one is very popular. It's because of Nathan Bedford Forrest. A lot of people are fans of Nathan Bedford Forrest, and having him on the cover there, it attracts them. And I've gotten good reviews from people who are Forrest fans that said that I treated him very. He's very controversial because he's also very hated. This is Susan's husband, Jack. He bought that book as well. This guy is a total Jack. Like he's got a very Jack personality, fun guy. And then this one, unfortunately, she's got one of them upside down, but she was interested in Mexico My Love and Blood for Blood at Nashville, which is great. Those are 2 of my longest books, and I'm very proud of those. So I think that's the last one. All right, and then there's a preview for my book. All right, so what's happening with me? Let's say take that down. So first of all, as far as the cancer is concerned, I had my last radiation treatment on the 25th, and then it'll be about 2 months before we know if we got it or not, or if I have to do more treatment. So we'll see. But the nice thing, what I'm looking forward to is right now I have a feeding tube. I can't even swallow pills or water. I have to drink water, take medication. Excuse me, and take nutrition all through a tube that's connected straight to my stomach. I have like a syringe that I hook to the tube and I just plunge. Whether it's like uh, like a formula that's basically food or or water or medicine. I can't taste any. Actually, I can taste all the burnt flesh and death and phlegm in my mouth, which is disgusting. But I can't taste any food, even if I could eat it. I'm hoping that once I'm done on the 25th, I can start healing and I'll get some of my taste back and my ability to eat. Um, I'm looking forward to that. Uh, as far as the book, so it comes out the the 16th. I'm done with my bit of editing. Now it's in my girlfriend's, my mom's hands. As I finish a chunk going through my process, then I give it to Laura. She goes through it with a red pen, and then I get it back from her, and I make the changes. And then once I do that, I send that chunk to my mom. And so I'm finished with my initial stuff. I'm just waiting for Laura and my mom to finish with theirs. We should have it all ready to go on time. And I'm gonna start running Amazon ads. I might want to change the cover needs some work. The monitor on my computer is broken. Like the chroma's off, and so I can't trust my computer when I'm doing the work on the cover. So I'm gonna fix the cover this weekend on Friday at my girlfriend's house, and then after that, I'm gonna start running ads. I mean, I might be able to start running ads beforehand. I just don't want the wrong cover to show up once I change the cover. But I'm gonna run ads. I'm gonna start building the ads probably after that for Amazon, and then right now we're doing 99 cents for the Kindle in the U.S. on Blood for Blood. Then next week will be 99 pence in the UK, and then the following week will be the first time that we're going to run a special on the Prussian Prince, which was the last book. The Prussian Prince had been $4.99 all year round until I started the pre-order for the French Fiasco. By the way, and the links below, you can pre-order the French Fiasco for only 99 cents or whatever that is in your country. It will be $4.99 and the equivalent everywhere else once it's out, and it'll stay there until the next book is on pre-order, which may be a long time. So this is the first time, because basically the latest book I don't put on special until the next book is on pre-order. So what that means is that once the French Fiasco comes out, it's going to be at $4.99 consistently until Black James is on pre-order, and that will be a long time because a lot's got to happen before that. Because I'm not going to start writing Black James right away. I'm going to be writing my novella, which will be free and exclusive to my list. And that will, I'm giving myself up to 6 months. I'd probably do it faster, but we'll see how long it takes me to do that. Then once that's out, I'll start working on Black James. And Black James is going to be epic. So, it may be over a year. So maybe I'll be like 2 years after the French Fiasco comes out that Black James comes out. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to cut it off there. Thank you for listening. Thanks for hanging in that long, listening to me slobber over myself trying to speak. We'll be back next week. I'm not quite sure what the topic will be. I got some ideas. But in the meantime, like I always say, if you have an author that you love or even like, go on Amazon and Goodreads and give them as many stars as Brian Riley says, hang in there, Cody. I am hanging. I'm hanging in there, Brian. Wait a minute. There you go. Thank you, Brian. I'm hanging in there. Last treatment is the 25th, and then I can start healing. And about 2 months after that, we'll find out whether we killed the cancer or not. So give your favorite authors 5-star reviews or 5 stars or as many stars as you want. And the actual thing is write a few lines give them a review on their books, even if it's something as simple as I really liked it, couldn't put it down. All right, I'm gonna cut it up there. I love you guys, and I'll see you probably next week with another live stream.